Now they're talking about mental illness, and that makes sense. And it was interesting because I was talking to one of our patients who's about my age, and when we were 16, 17 years old, there wasn't any of this stuff going on. You could literally go into a gun shop and buy it. So what's going on with the kids nowadays? And a third of our practice is under 12. So we have a huge patient base to pull from. And if a kid has gone through what the kids are going through today, and has anyone in here been in childcare for a long time, like a teacher or anything like that? Okay, because typically, if you've been a teacher or caregiver to kids for over 20 years, what I ask them is I say, oh, you've seen the change. And you know what they do? I don't mention anything other than that. They look down at the ground and say, yeah. You know, because it's totally different. If you have a child today that's fully vaccinated, that had a hospital birth, that's gone through everything, they're going to have one of four things. Nobody makes it out of these procedures 100% healthy. They're going to have behavioral issues, bowel issues, breathing, or skin. So think of 3 B's and an S. When we were in school before, okay, and I'm talking like before they gave the liability to the vaccine companies, and when it went from 23 vaccines to 34 to 54 to 69 doses, I think it's now 72 different doses of 17 different vaccines. It's a tremendous amount, but you can't sue anyone for it. And now they're taking away the religious exemptions, the personal beliefs exemption, so it's forced to get a job, it's forced to do, a lot of things, but that's only one of the toxins. Okay, just realize now that our kids are under a huge assault. And so when we talk about stressors, let's boil it down to the 3 stressors: the physical, chemical, and emotional stress. But these children are under stressors that our species has never experienced. Our species. 69 doses of 16 different vaccines. Any animal studies on that? Not a one. Okay, no liability. That means they passed the law that they were doing so much damage that you can't sue the companies. And you're forced to get vaccines, forced medical procedures without informed consent. Then we have stimulant use. Okay, have you ever heard of class 2 narcotic called Ritalin? Yeah, it turns out that stimulants, narcotics, can have a calming effect in children. Now in 1905, we read an article that, a couple of months ago, that was talking about how they had heroin and cough syrup. No, don't laugh. It calms them down. It's really good. And heroin at the time in 1905 was known as non-addictive. We know so much more now than we did then. Okay, do you understand? This is like insane. So 4-fold increase from 1987 to 1996. So these kids are doing stimulants, Ritalin, class 2 narcotic. 2003, the US and European regulators issued public health warnings about the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. I understand the mechanism of action is unknown, you're quite right. They don't know how it actually works, but they know that it increases suicidal behavior, and suicidality. And then we have glyphosate, which again introduced about 20, 30 years ago, but now it's in our water system, it's in our food supply, it's everywhere else. So these are the stressors that our kids are being exposed to. Now we're also taking away a lot of physical education. They're getting more involved in inside activities. So it's a radically different idea of how to raise a human being. So they're raised completely different. That just realize that those 3 stressors, physical, chemical, and emotional, have the same response in the body. Okay, we've got this automatic nervous system, sympathetic, which means fight or flight. It's located in the thoracic and lumbar area. When this is stimulated, it elevates the heart rate. It shuts blood supply down to the gut. Okay, and this is literally preparing you for battle. So do you want a healthy immune system or a weakened immune system when you're going into battle? Anyone ever have a cold in here? Feel like tons of energy. God, I got a cold. I want to go for a run. No, it's metabolically expensive. It drains you. It saps your energy. So the immune system's going to be shut down in the sympathetics. But high blood pressure, heart rate elevated, blood sugar elevated. Okay, so can you see that in a chronic sympathetic dominance or a chronic stress state, they're going to be misdiagnosed with digestive disorders? Oh man, I forgot. Serotonin's produced in the gut. Dopamine's produced in the neck. So does that mean low serotonin and dopamine production? If they're in a stress state, physical, chemical, emotional stress. Absolutely. Now the parasympathetic is generally activated at night. You know how many kids we get in here under depression, anxiety, stress, behavioral disorders, bowel disorders, breathing disorders? Everyone. It's weird to see a normal. It's weird to see a normal. Wow, your kid, it's unusual. There's no dark circles around the eyes. They have a beautiful posture. What happened? Well, we had a home birth. We decided not to give a vitamin K shot or any vaccines. My wife ate nothing but organic food and plant-based, and so did I, for 5 years before we decided to conceive. And I go, you hear this stuff and you see these people and you go, my God, there's still hope for mankind. What kind of drugs is the child taking? None? Wow. And you see normal. It just doesn't happen that often. And then you get this. See, when we're looking at the stress response, you got to look at the autonomic nervous system. Brilliant article. And this says it doesn't matter if it's infection, trauma, whatever. Chronic critical illness, and figure our population now, and we're talking the children population, 1 in 2, 50% have a chronic illness or disease that they'll never recover from. They'll always have it. Okay, now regardless of the etiology, the autonomic dysfunction is the core mechanism underlying development or perpetuation of multi-organ failure. So can you see this, that it's not really an autonomic dysfunction, that our population is stressed. We have physical, chemical, and emotional stress, and the body's responding correctly to that stress. So we're only going to look at a couple of things that can negatively affect the brain. Negatively affect the brain or keep it in that stress state. Okay, I want you to keep thinking about this. We're going to look at some of the commonly prescribed medications, some aspects of vaccinations. We're not going to go through all the ingredients, the different substrates, when the risk of disease. You know, I know what you're thinking about, that wasn't it like 23 more times greater risk of dying from a congenital anomaly than measles before the measles vaccine came out? You're right. Measles wasn't dangerous. Anyone curious, look at the Brady Bunch measles episode. Okay, so you look at this toxic foods that are brand new to our environment. Okay, what are they doing to it? And environmental toxins. Now, let's just look at the blood pressure or the medications given to kids, because we actually have had kids on blood pressure drugs. We have had infants as young as 1 to 2 months old given antacids because their mom was given Pitocin and couldn't produce milk, which is a cow hormone. And so the kid, when they're taking this genetically modified formula, they're throwing up. And so instead of the pediatrician and family saying, look, the little kid's throwing up, maybe we should look at the food we're feeding him, no, they give him an antacid to keep it down. When I just told that story, did anyone just go like, no? I do that. I'm sitting in with parents and we're going over this, and inside I'm screaming, and outside I'm going, really? Antacids, 1.5 years old. Did you get the flu shot when you were pregnant? Oh, yeah, you did. Okay, you know, give the kid Tylenol at 1 month old. Okay, now when you were looking at the drugs, I want you to start thinking that the body is intelligent. No, don't run away. It is intelligent. Okay, the body's intelligent and gives symptoms for a reason. So now let's look at beta blockers. Now this is prescribed for high blood pressure, heart failure, angina, chest pain, migraines, headaches, abnormal heart rhythms. Doesn't this sound like a person's in a stress state? Yeah. Yes? Yeah. don't look at the stress, just drug them. Okay, so in the doctor of the future no longer will give a drug for these symptoms. They're actually going to look at the patient, do a history, find out how they're sleeping, how they're eating, what the heck is going on with them, and get them out of the stress state. But now we're going to drug them. Okay, granted, this does cause depression and anxiety, and it does slow oxygen down to the brain. Okay, calcium channel blockers, also prescribed for high blood pressure, chest pain, abnormal heart rhythms. Okay, I want you to look at this. What are those for? Are those symptoms that the body is drug deficient, or are those intelligent symptoms that the body's expressing that there's an actual problem? Okay, common sense says problem. Okay, interferon, NuvaRing. We have 10 and 11-year-old kids that just started their menstrual cycle, or 12-year-old kids that can't stop bleeding, and they're prescribed birth control pills. And in fact, a really good patient, we're going in, we're saying, hey, look, yeah, we can help your daughter. What do? We get them out of the stress state. You don't give them a birth control pill which can increase their cancer rates at 12 years old. Opioids. We do not have an opioid crisis in this country. They're very available. Oh, wait. You mean that's not the crisis? What are you talking about? You mean they're overutilized? No, they're not overutilized, okay? Medical system is failing. If we can't fix the problem, we're going to drug it, okay? This is the system. It's working fine. The availability is okay. Cholesterol-lowering drugs. Did you know that under a sympathetic dominant state, cholesterol increases? Why? Because it's used for hormone production and tissue repair. You're preparing for battle. So if you have damaged tissue or need for hormone, cholesterol has to increase. But no, if it's lowered, we're not even talking about what the side effects are. I'm just going over that these cause depression. Okay, why? Cancer does increase risk of cancers, or cholesterol-lowering drugs does increase risk of cancers and damage the body, but we're just talking about the depression. Chantrix, we've actually had several people with severe anxiety, stress, and depression, and when you see the cool commercials on TV, you know, suicidal thoughts. Shingles, herpes, okay, you know, what about L-lysine? What about healthy vitamins? Severe acne. Now, if you poison the body, do you think the body's going to have to eliminate those poisons from some means? Yes or yes? Yeah. So acne is not a skin disorder. It's a toxin. It's a toxic disorder. It means that the person, anybody with severe acne, how are they pooping? They getting 3 healthy bowel movements a day? Are they sleeping really good? Do they have a great plant-based organic diet? People are giggling now. Okay, they're saying, no, of course not. Of course not. No, they're toxic. Their body's trying to work hard. I mean, we've known since the 1940s, okay, that low stomach acid is one of the causes of, or the reasons that a person would have psoriasis or eczema. Barbiturates, used to treat anxiety and epileptic seizures. Yes, I know seizures are the side effect of a lot of different vaccines. And I know 1/3 of the recruits that go into the military are also gone because they get seizures after the vaccines, or develop diabetes, or develop some other type of problem. And this is an all-volunteer force. Benzodiazepines, central nervous system depressions, used for anxiety. Wait, these are drugs that cause depression, and this is used for anxiety. Okay, now let's look at foods. Okay, so if you're taking a medication, if you're taking multiple medications, okay, find out why it's prescribed. Know that, look at the effects of the drug. They're listed as side effects, but they're actually effects. Never take 2 drugs together. Nobody knows what they do. Okay, so in order to lessen the toxic effects, separate them. Does that make sense? Is that something mom would tell you? Yeah, okay. Mineral depletion. One of the things that we have is our soil is being depleted. Okay, this is why we recommend healthy sea salts. Okay, we recommend plant-based mineral supplements from seaweed. That's getting to be a challenge with the radiation floating around in the Pacific, but it's still safe to eat so far. In 1936, they were talking about our farm soils were severely depleted of minerals. Without minerals, you can't utilize vitamins. You keep someone low on minerals, they can't utilize the vitamins, so we're starting having alterations in physiology. No man today can eat enough fruits and vegetables to supply his stomach with mineral salts required for perfect health because his stomach isn't big enough to hold them. That was 80 years ago. Okay, pesticides. Now, pesticides are being utilized everywhere except on organic stuff. Those who were heavily exposed to pesticides had a 41% increased risk of developing Parkinson's. No kidding. So when we say that you have to eat organic, that pesticides and herbicides are not good for you. Do you understand that it's not an option? Particularly if you got a kid with dark circles around their eyes, an exploded abdomen, they have poor sleep patterns. This isn't optional for that human. Glyphosates. We've pretty much sacrificed an entire generation of children. The longer we go on, the more damage that's going to accumulate. This is a mineral chelator. What did I just tell you about minerals? The soil is being depleted. Okay, we need minerals. Okay, I mean, we've got two different types of minerals that we supply as supplements. You need minerals. And this is a mineral chelator. It's sucking the minerals out of you. Glyphosates, the most important factor in developing multiple chronic diseases. Absolutely. 1 in 2 of our children have a chronic illness or disease. When you look at this, health issues, glyphosates, depression, autism, Parkinson's. Why? Because the body is sick. It can't utilize vitamins. And this is now in the water system. You can't hardly get rid of it. Now, fluoride. When you look at the pro-fluoride people, okay, it's mind-boggling at how ignorant and lack of science. So we're going to mix this toxic component in the water system. Okay, it's a byproduct from the fertilizer industry, and it's really toxic to get rid of, but if we dump it in a bunch of water and dilute it, while you drink it, as it passes by your teeth, you might prevent some dental cavities. I know what you're concerned with. We're going to be bathing in it. We're going to be drinking it. What about the ingested stuff, not the stuff that just passes by the teeth? We're going to be watering our plants with it. I might be cooking pasta with it. Okay, do you understand? No thought of that. Well, we know that fluoridated water at 1 part per million, if you cook it in an aluminum pot, it increases the toxic concentration up to 600 parts per million. Okay, Alzheimer's, neurologic diseases. When you look at the prevalence of disease now, cancer is growing in children, okay, but dementia and Alzheimer's cost 4 times what cancer costs, because the brains aren't working right. Okay, and this, let's look at vaccinations. And this brilliant writer, Michael Colbert, talks negative cognitive dissonance. The inability or disinterest in processing new and unexpected or unwanted information. If a doctor, now you are paying a doctor, okay, when you go up to your doctor, when you say it's my doctor, realize that person works for you. You caught me there. Okay, if they're not following your wishes, if they're not doing what you want, if they're not giving you health, if you're not saying, man, I love seeing that guy. I feel empowered. He told me how to sleep right and eat right. I feel on fire. No, you have this. You need this the rest of your life. Okay, fire him. If he's not empowering you and telling you appropriate things to change your life, to give health, he needs to be fired. In medical schools, students are indoctrinated on the value of vaccines. By the time pediatricians, along with other physicians and surgeons, have finished their training, they have become prisoners of the vaccine paradigm. Prisoners. God, I love that. Very few conventional doctors have been able to break out of this ideologic prison. My God, brilliant. Why? Because do we have a litigious society? Yeah, unless you make vaccines. Then it's free, baby. Okay, this is way better than Al Capone. I mean, you know, you could distribute a toxic product. They know you're doing it and you can't get sued for it. Okay, so this is completely different. And it's only going to take the public to rise up and say, look, we think that the liability should be on the manufacturers and that there should be actual science. Vaccines proven to cause diabetes. Would you want this forcibly vaccinated into your child so that they can go to school? No. What happens to kids if they do this? It messes up their body. You know, Journal of Autoimmunity. Dental amalgams. Do we have a problem with amalgam filling? We get it all the time. We see people with past cancers, dementia, all this stuff, and I'll see it on the x-ray and I say, man, if that's amalgam fillings, you got to take it out. I've been thinking about getting it out for a while, doc. You know, I really should. Okay, well, what do you want? You want dementia, Alzheimer's, or cancer? You know? But you got to take it out correctly, okay? You got to get a biodentist. They got to put a vacuum dam in there, vitamin C IV, pure oxygen, vent it. They've got to do some, you know, biocompatible resin. It's got to be done correctly. You get the standard dentist just popping it out. You can develop, I mean, it's deadly, deadly. Yeah, that's why we use American Biodental in Mexico. Aluminum, we're not going to look at all the different aspects of this. This is a journal article that I wanted to put in here. But all you got to do is go to Google Scholar. Mechanism of aluminum adjuvant toxicity and autoimmune in pediatric populations. Immune challenges during early development, including those vaccine-induced, can lead to permanent detrimental alterations of the brain and immune system function. Now that's a journal article out of Google Scholar. I didn't put it in here because we got a number of articles, but it's just, you know, when I'm in there looking at it and this research comes up and you see this, it's just like, my God, this is forcibly put on people. Now, aluminum is a known neurotoxin. However, it has to be in most vaccines because if you just get some animal protein or monkey kidney tissue or dog kidney tissue or, you know, a attenuated virus or a live virus, the body's not going to really mount a full-on defense against it because it's not a big insult. No problem, you know, a little bit of inflammation, a little Th2 response, you're going to knock it out. So you got to mix something that scares the heck out of the immune system, and that's aluminum. I mean, it works great. However, it is toxic to the body. Now, we have this blood-brain barrier. Okay, the brain has more neurons or neuronal connections than there's stars in the sky. We have this barriers because, you know, when you eat something, you know how if you eat, you know, a lot of sugar, you feel kind of like woozy? Okay, it's like, wow. Or you do a little bit of coffee and, you know, you drink until your hand shakes and you think, yeah, I've had enough. Wait, am I the only one? Okay, I like that feeling. Okay, so the brain would not work well if you're under that influence. So there's a barrier between the blood and the brain. And the brain has this cerebral spinal fluid that flows around, gives nutrients to the brain. It's amazing. This barrier doesn't fully form until adolescence. Some people say 7, some people say adolescence. It's just not fully formed, okay, for a while. Now, certain things, even when that barrier is fully formed, can cross it. And they're like poisonous to the brain, okay? They're called neurotoxic. So we have to look at this blood-brain barrier. So it's a good idea to keep stuff that are poisonous to the brain down to a minimum. What, you want none? Yes, sorry, there's one in every crowd. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, so when you look at this, aluminum in the central nervous system, toxicity in humans, animals, vaccine adjuvants, and autoimmune disease. How many times have you heard vaccines are safe and effective, they're fine, wonderful, proven safe and effective? Okay, yeah, that's a slogan. Okay, show me data. Show me data that compares it, not one vaccine to another vaccine. We have examined the neurotoxicity of aluminum in humans and animals under various conditions. Routes of administration provide an overview of the test. The literature demonstrates clearly negative impacts of aluminum on the nervous system across the age span. Gulf War syndrome and associated neurologic deficits lead to Lou Gehrig's disease. In young children, a highly significant correlation exists between the number of pediatric aluminum adjuvantated vaccines administered and the rate of autism spectrum disorders. Were you aware of this? Were you aware of this, that this data has been known since 2013, okay, and you are forced to get your child vaccinated with this or they don't get an education. Adverse effects of aluminum, gene expression, damaged cell membranes, disrupts energy metabolism. Do you think this can negatively affect the brain? Yeah, anxiety, stress. Remember, this is a chemical stressor. We got these kids under a sympathetic dominant state. They have delusions, anxiety, stress. This is called damage to the brain. The Pediatric Forum, the Archives of Pediatric Adolescent Medicine. Recent attention has been drawn to aluminum toxicity in infants. How would an infant get aluminum toxicity? Oh, flu shots, good idea. Possibly. Have reported aluminum toxicity as complication of hyperalimation in preterm patients. That's like IVs. Encephalopathy in children has occurred secondary to aluminum toxicity from dialysis. And so I start reading this, and it's so obvious. They're not talking about vaccines because that's a religion. You can't mess with vaccine toxicity in today's environment. It's a death knell to your career if you're in the medical world that distributes this. High aluminum concentrations have been reported after death. Heparin and colloids can be contaminated with aluminum. So these preterm infants, yes, there is a massive rise in preterm infants, okay, because we are damaging the mother. So the mother's body is in such a state of stress, they're saying, hey, look, I can't grow this kid all the way. We got to get it out. Okay, there's a massive rise in that. Estrogen, okay, this is interesting. When you're reading journal articles and you actually find this fun, okay, you realize it's just us right now. You wonder why there's a higher rate of autism in boys as opposed to girls. And so you find this out that, oh my God, estrogens attenuate, slow it down, okay? Corticosteroid exacerbates excitotoxicity, oxidative injury. So you look at this and you think, well, wait a second. Glucocorticoids play a role in the pathogenesis of neurodegenerative disorders, but their mechanism of action is not known. So we know that there's a lot of stuff that's injected in people that's damaging their central nervous system, but they don't know why. Okay, it'd be neat if they did a study. We conclude that estrogens and progesterone and corticosteroid can directly affect neuronal vulnerability to excitotoxic, metabolic, and oxidative insults, suggesting the roles for these steroids in several different neurodegenerative disorders. They're thinking, well, yeah, the body produces it. We know the neurons are getting damaged, but we might be able to use this as a therapy. Okay, instead of saying, oh my God, why are these neurons being damaged? So could this be that the male and females of our population are getting exposed to this, having permanent neurologic damage? I mean, it's, okay, so just had a patient today, and dark circles around the eyes, behavior issues, came in for scoliosis, and I said, well, okay, we're gonna get her healthy. Make sure you don't put any neurotoxins in her. What's that? And I said, well, it's gonna be like vaccines, okay, toxic food, environmental toxins that children are exposed to nowadays. And make sure that you don't give her any Tylenol or anything that will deplete glutathione. What's that? And I said, well, it happens to be, it's something that protects. It's a master antioxidant. It protects the neurons in the brain. So you don't want to give Tylenol to a child because that weakens the body's ability to protect the brain and it damages the brain. What do pediatricians say to give the child if they develop a bad reaction to the vaccine? Tylenol. So I think I can't be the only one aware of this information. So I go on Google Scholar. There's around 4,000 hits if you type in acetaminophen, glutathione depletion. Okay, and it's incredible. A well-established link between acetaminophen toxicity and liver failure. Depletes hepatic glutathione, so that means it's going to damage it. When the dose of acetaminophen is large enough to deplete hepatic glutathione. I mean, you start looking at this, and it's just like one article after another article after another article. And it's like, my God, it should be illegal to give acetaminophen or Tylenol to a child, you know? Well, I mean, old people too, it'd be nice if they didn't have brain damage and liver failure, but there's a lot of them. They're not as cute as kids. Okay, you're right, we should not give it to anyone. Okay, so now you might be wondering about aluminum, okay, because we only picked on one ingredient, okay, that the kids are exposed to that can damage the brain and central nervous system. We know it's very essential for vaccines to give an immune system response, okay? However, would you like to see some more research done on another ingredient that might be less toxic and more effective? Yes? Yeah. Lancet comes out and says, you know, assessment of safety in aluminum vaccines is important. However, replacement for the aluminum compounds, it doesn't really exist right now. Since no obvious candidates to replace the aluminum are available, withdraw for safety reasons would severely affect the immunogenicity and protective effect of current licensed vaccines. Okay, now, I read this a couple of times, and I'm going, yes, the vaccines are dangerous, okay, and can cause damage, but if we withdraw them for little things like safety reasons, it would impinge our program. So it's best not to do any research or talk about this, even among ourselves. Despite a good quality or lack of good quality evidence, we do not recommend that any further research be done on this topic. Is that population control? I keep wanting to say we got two choices here. We got a medical profession that's either ignorant or evil, and ignorant is our best shot. 9-year-old. This is a severe destroyed abdomen. Idiopathic ulcerative colitis. It means they don't know what happened. Bull. How ignorant can you be? Hospital birth. Mom got Pitocin. Okay, I didn't even ask the mom about flu shots, but I'm pretty sure that was probably up there. Epidurals, vaccines stopped at 2 years old because of seizures. Okay, I mean, luckily we're able to help him, but what? Wouldn't it be cool to have a 9-year-old kid coming in here and saying, look, I just want to keep and maintain my healthy nervous system instead of having to fix something like this? Here's two kids, okay, that both went through 9 years of court battle, and it's called vaccine court even though it's not vaccine court. You can't sue the companies, but if your child's injured and you meet the certain criteria and then you decide to go through a 9-year court battle and you happen to win it, that says that, yeah, the DPT shot did cause encephalitis and autism-like symptoms in these kids. Yeah. Let's look at the brain. Hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus is involved in mood disorders because remember, we're talking about anxiety and stress underlying causes. What structure in the brain is actually damaged in these people? Okay, available evidence suggests that the hippocampus plays an important role in the pathophysiologically of depression and bipolar disorder. Why? Why? Okay, where is this? And so I'm looking at this because I know the brain's got a plasticity. So I'm looking for different structures in the brain that are damaged, change shape, and when they're healthy, they change shape. Okay, so we can see, we got a tangible measurement. So it's not like, yeah, you're sad, well, depressed. Really, is there an actual thing? Or is this some type of like ethereal thing that just is there? Or is there a structure that we can measure? Hippocampal neurons in bipolar disorder. Hippocampus is smaller in people with bipolar disorder. It's also in depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. So now we're on to something. So now you got to think, okay, where is it? It's on the floor of the ventricles, and the ventricles are filled with cerebral spinal fluid. So now let's just say, okay, for the heck of it, we got this blood-brain barrier. We've got heavy metals that can pierce that. Now, right on the floor, so heavy metals, it's going to titrate down, okay, out of the fluid. If it settles in the floor, or any toxicity settle in the floor, doesn't it make sense that it could damage those hippocampal neurons? I mean, it just makes sense, because I'm thinking, why? Why doesn't it involve the cerebellum? That's back there. Okay, it doesn't touch the ventricles. Why doesn't it damage, more of the frontal lobe? Well, the frontal lobe's involved in that, but, it's just, I'm looking for the structure. Now, prenatal stress. Okay, now, it's interesting, because this was an article on mice, and they stressed out mother mice, okay, for a half hour a day. Okay, and they found out that these morphologic changes in the prenatal stress may contribute to behavioral changes of the offspring after birth. So is it important that mothers, okay, of children today, organic, plant-based, no drugs, no vaccines, get them to sleep correctly, get them to eat correctly, treat them like they're the mothers of our society, that they're our future, they're carrying our future. When we have 1 and 2 children with this, with a chronic illness or disease, this is done. I mean, figure it like 5, 6 more years, you're talking no Social Security. There's an autistic tsunami coming forward, and stats say between 2025 and 2030 that 1 in 2 kids will have autism. I mean, this is not something we can bury our heads in the sand for. So what can you do right now? Get your nervous system checked. That's obvious. You got to stop the neurotoxins. If it's in the medications, if it's in the vaccines, if it's in the food, find out why you're taking the medications, and if your doctor doesn't work with you, find a real doctor, one who understands the autonomic nervous system, physiology, and is not treating you out of a book. Okay? Say, hey, look, don't give me a diagnosis of fibromyalgia or angry doctor syndrome. I got that now. Okay, find out what's wrong with my body. Ask me real pertinent questions, like what's my physical traumas been like? Give me an objective analysis. Ask me how I'm pooping, how I'm sleeping, how I'm thinking. Okay, do a real subjective analysis. What's my stress level like? Wouldn't that make a difference? Gluten-free, dairy-free to heal the gut, because if you're gone through this protocol, your gut's destroyed, like those kids I just showed you. Juicing and blending, pre-digest those nutrients, because these kids can't digest stuff. Plant-based and organic, deep sleep, reprogram your emotional state. It seems too simple, but what do you do for a kid? You stop poisoning them, and you give them healthy nutrients. You get their nervous system checked, plant-based diet, probiotics, blending. When we put these 5 keys to health, can you see that it's just normal? This is just common sense. You live your life through your nervous system, so if you got an autonomic imbalance, what do you think these kids got? Are they getting regular exercise? No. Do they have healthy nutrients, or do they have toxic stuff that can damage the gut and the brain? Are they getting sufficient sleep, or are they staying up to all hours of the night? Are they getting a connection, prayer, and meditation? Do they have a good spiritual life? Any answers? Do you think that they're having all 5 of those? And then they go up and pick up a weapon or drive over people, or, no. Look at the underlying cause. These kids are our future. We don't have a plan B. I mean, go to extremehealthacademy.com. We got a ton of information on there. And then we also got the Dr. John Bergman site. But look at the information out there. If somebody says that they label you for a disease, don't accept it, okay? You're human. Your design is perfect, okay? I mean, everybody that comes in here is healthy. Okay, they may be in a wheelchair, they may be experiencing some type of damage, physical, chemical, emotional stress, but by God, we just take away those stressors and give them sufficiency and purity, and they get better. Doesn't that make sense? Okay, any questions? Yes, sir.
Distilled water.
What do I think of distilled water? It's good for detox, and I wouldn't do it every day because it doesn't have a lot of minerals, and the more minerals it actually gets into the cell.
I heard that it's supposed to, like distilled water will leach out of the body, not the good minerals.
Okay, now, this is being recorded live. I have the only microphone, so everything you say to me, I have to repeat. If you make it long and difficult, I have a bag of rubber bands that I will shoot you with. Okay, used to be a paper boy, I could do that. Yes, it will leach minerals out. That's why it's good for detoxing, but I wouldn't do it every day. Okay, good. Yes, sir.
The aluminum issue I hear is also from the, what are those things called? The deodorants?
Oh, buddy, yeah, aluminum deodorants, aluminum and baking soda, aluminum and there's, yeah, it's actually abundant in our environment. And if you eat aluminum, you know, just inadvertently, you're going to absorb between 0.2% and 1.5%. If you inject it, you're getting 100%. Yeah, so, you know, let's not eat it. Yes, ma'am.
Brushing your teeth with baking soda would not be a good idea then?
Oh, brushing your teeth with baking soda. They have aluminum-free baking soda. And what is it? It's red something?
Red Mill.
Red Mill. Thank you. Oh, good. That would have been a brain fart. I would have forgot that. Thank you. Red Mill. Good.
I think you're thinking of baking powder.
Okay.
Aluminum, if you don't get aluminum free, it's not baking soda.
Oh, okay. Baking powder.
Baking
Yep.
soda's fine.
Okay, cool.
I heard baking soda too.
Room deodorants are supposedly kill the testosterone.
Oh, aluminum deodorants kill the system.
Room freshener.
Oh, room fresheners. Yeah, a lot of room fresheners are toxic, and that's some of the internal pollution. This is why, I mean, at the Extreme Health Academy, we go through and we talk about what kind of plants can actually detox the environment. Also, glues. The inside air is generally really toxic, so essential oils would be a great essential oil diffuser, and that's antimicrobial, it's safe, effective, and actually has benefit. Yes, sir.
I'm not cooking with it, but just wrapping food in the refrigerator in aluminum foil, is that a bad idea?
I don't know. I know cooking with it massively increases the aluminum in the food. I wouldn't mess with it, you know, because there's a lot of other things that you could do. You know, making food fresh, wrapping it up in you know, just plastic wrap. I mean, even that you're going to get some nasty things, but glass containers are the best and the safest. Yes, sir.
I had this experience with the amalgam fillings where when you put the aluminum on them and you get this like electric shock.
Okay, I had the experience, because I got to repeat it, with amalgam fillings. Yeah, if you got amalgam fillings and you're just curious to see if they are metal, wad up a little piece of aluminum and chew it. Whew! Yeah, but you'll recognize that, I guess that was an aluminum filling or a mercury filling.
I was wondering what that does to your system, if you have any idea.
It's bad for you. What does it do? Yeah, it's like I just got like cringes just thinking about it, and I had my mercury removed.
You have experience with that?
Yeah. I don't ever want to do it again.
It does feel nasty.
So, thank you very much. Go forth and be healthy.